day. Tomorrow, tomorrow is a lovely day. Come and feast your tear-dimmed eyes on tomorrow's clear blue skies. It's a lovely day. Tomorrow, tomorrow is a lovely day. Come and feast your tears.
The Battle of Wembley was a battle between England, dark shorts, and Wales, white shorts. And after Mr. Attlee had done his bit to help things along, Cullis, England's new skipper, won the toss from Jones, and Lowry kicked off for Wales. Within 10 minutes or so, Carter, England's inside right, started the scoring. Though he did beat the Welsh goalie that time, if it hadn't been for Sidlow's great work right through the match, the final score might have been astronomical. As it was, it proved to be big enough. Welsh, centre forward, shot England second, a sitter. Wales had already lost Ivor Powell through injury, but Sergeant Stanley Mortensen, number 6, had filled the breach. Although he was actually reserved for England, he made his international debut in Welsh colours, and it was a pass from him that gave Lowry, the Welsh centre, the chance to score first for his side. There were about 80,000 people at Wembley, and that Welsh comeback at once aroused hopes of real excitement. But England had gone goal crazy, and 2 more were added to their score before half-time. By Carter, and by Welsh. During the interval, the Battle of Wembley gave way to the Battle of the PT instructors, mighty men of muscle who performed wonders. The second half gave the Englishmen in the crowd something to think about, for Wales now went into the goal-scoring business. Aubrey Powell, their right winger, made it 2-4. Lowry quickly brought it to 3-4. Meanwhile, Mr. Bevan was scanning the crowd for grannies to call up. Mr. Attlee refused to be defeated by a substandard Churchill cigar, and represented by the First Lord, the Navy was there, resourceful as ever. By now, the English players had seen the red light, and they decided to put the issue beyond all doubt with 4 swift goals. Hagan, inside left, scores. Compton, outside left, scores. It all seemed to come from the left. Matthews on the right was very closely marked. Hagan again, 7-3. Finally, from a penalty, Welsh made it 8-3. A record score for Wembley and the end of the battle. Scotland, dark shirts, were up against a really first-class combination when they met England at Manchester, and the result was the greatest international defeat they've ever suffered. From England's point of view, it almost cancelled out Bannockburn. The scoring didn't start for a quarter of an hour, but then Hagan set an example which was followed by almost the entire forward line. Lawton was next. Then Carter put one in before the English centre-forward proceeded to add 2 more before half-time. We'll see them in a moment, for all this welter of scoring took place in the space of about 20 minutes. And so when Lawton completed his hat-trick, the teams crossed over with Scotland 5 goals down. Scotland fought on bravely to the end, but they were overwhelmed. Matthews, number 7, playing brilliantly, was tripped. Watch Crozier, the Scottish goalie, stopped the shot from the penalty which Carter took. Crozier did a great job, and he certainly had plenty to do. He was fated to be beaten 3 more times, first by Hagen. Lawton gets his 4th. Finally, there was a goal by Matthews, whose dazzling play throughout made him the hero of the match. England's right winger, star of many internationals, had nevertheless not scored a goal for England for 5 years. By getting England's 8th, he clinched a record victory and rounded off a great personal triumph. The teams being presented to the King before the start of the England v Scotland international soccer match at Wembley. It was a cold day for it, and Busby and Cullis wasted no time over the toss-up. Scotland kicked off, and for the first 35 minutes there was little to choose between the teams. No goals were scored, but the visitors gave Ditchburn plenty of opportunities to show what he's made of. Scotland were naturally all out to stop Matthews, England's famous right winger, and their new left-back Stephen worked like a hero on the job. The 2 of them were constantly in the picture, but Matthews takes a lot of stopping, and it was a brilliant piece of work on his part that gave Hagen the chance of opening the score, and he took it. Scotland certainly reacted promptly. Within 2 or 3 minutes, Dodds beat Ditchburn to make it 1-1. Incidentally, Scotland's first goal at Wembley for 6 years. General Montgomery enjoyed a commanding view from the royal box. Cabinet ministers were present, and King Haakon of Norway. Princess Elizabeth, next to Monty, was watching, I believe, her first international. The second half produced a riot of goals. The first, rather hard luck for Scotland, went in off Macaulay's head from a centre by Smith, 2-1. England drew ahead again when Lawton scored his. Hagen, getting his second, brought the score to 4-1. Then England's left half, Mercer, took up the tail, 5-1. Finally, Carter, 6-1. But Scotland, who'd played a much stouter game than the score would seem to indicate, had the last word. Dodds netted again.
At Goodison Park, Liverpool, England's league stars shine in the match against the Irish League. Final score 4-2 and an England win. Here, Pathé Sports cameras spotlight the fast-moving English forward line. Watch Jimmy Hagen, number 10 of Sheffield United, back in representative football. He played a brilliant game. Sharp shooting stakes his claim for the inside left position in the All-Britain team playing Europe in May. Behind Hagen, Blackpool's Johnson, number 6, gave his forwards all the passes. Jimmy Hagen is off again, and Irish goalie Kelly almost fumbles the clearance. Now for the twinkling feet of Wizard of Dribble, number 7, Stoke Stanley Matthews. Stan was back to his old form and showed that he has lost no pace. Our verdict, he is still Britain's fastest right winger. Stan passes to Wilf Mannion, who shoots just outside the goal. New discovery is Burnley amateur Peter Kippax, number 11. Ex-fighter pilot, he is the first amateur for 19 years to get into a Football League side. This is the movement that led to his first goal. Hagen slips him a pass, and Kippax puts his right foot to it, and... The Hagen-Kippax wing was full of tricks and often tied the Irish defence in knots. And with a final goal from Tommy Lawton, England win.
ground at Wolverhampton, covered in snow before the match, was cleared in time thanks to many willing helpers. Piled up all round the field, it acted as irresistible temptation. And it wasn't only the police who were snowball targets, so our cameramen say. Hagan and Cullis were the skippers of Sheffield United and the Wolves, Sheffield in striped shirts. Wolves, league leaders and favourites for the Cup, were already weakened by the absence of Galley and Mullen. It was another stroke of bad luck when Morris, their right back, was injured. Both teams slipped and skidded on the icy ground, and not unnaturally, the match was rather a scrappy affair, as well as involving several injuries. Result, no score, and so a replay at Sheffield.
For the sixth round cup ties, our sports reporters went to Bramall Lane, Sheffield, for the Newcastle-Sheffield United match. The camera got the first headache. Sheffield's red and white stripes and Newcastle's black and white looked very much alike. We spotlight the fast-moving Tyneside forwards. Swerving around the Sheffield defence, Pearson, number 11, made the openings for many Newcastle attacks. Their £40,000 forward line was made of the stuff that wins the cup. The first Newcastle goal came when inside forward Bentley converted a harsh decision penalty. Pace and precision told. Newcastle played the better football. The Sheffield started as favourites but were right out of form. The Tynesiders' reward came when goal number 2 was scored at point-blank range by outside right Milbourne. In the second half, Sheffield, 2 goals down, were always on the move, but the Newcastle defence held firm. Here's Sheffield's outside left Collingridge, number 11. He sets the attack going. The Tynesiders were solid, even though all the Sheffield team was now in Newcastle's half. And by the way, Sheffield back Cox, number 3, was a bit too free with his arms. Our verdict, the better team won. Newcastle now meet Charlton, winners of our cup tie number 2.
Crowd braved the wintry weather at Molineux, where Wolves were at home to Sheffield United in the 4th round cup tie. When the cup holders took the field, they were wrapped up against the cold, as you see. United striped shirts followed. United kicked off, and they were soon trying hard to drive home one dangerous attack after another against the Wolves' goal. Wolves not only kept them out, but counter-attacked strongly. And this was how the match went, fought out as it was in bitter weather on a frozen ground. Attack and counter-attack, but neither side scoring. Both teams had narrow escapes. With a bit of luck, Wolves might have scored here, but Bergin contrived to save the situation. There were, of course, a few minor incidents. For example, when the Blades' left back was sent flying in a collision with Hancock's. Wolves were penalised, Cox was slightly hurt, and the referee had a few words to say. As for the match, that, as we know, had to be played all over again.
Dear friends, the next time you find yourself in our locality, try a sample of our hospitality.
It's a full house at Bramall Lane as Sheffield United in familiar red and white stripes take the field before a crowd of nearly 44,000 and kick off against Chelsea. From the start, it's nearly all Sheffield. Browning shoots, but straight at Robertson. From the clearance, Smith starts a Chelsea attack, but Toner tries to rob him. Shaw passes back to Bergin, but Smith and Harris rush in to tackle. Now it's Sheffield attacking. Browning shoots, but Robertson saves. And danger passes at Chelsea clear their lines. Bentley passes out to Gray on the wing. Gray to Darcy. Darcy back to Bentley. Bentley shoots, and it's a goal! As there was no more scoring, Chelsea passed through to the finals.
Takes to the tango, to the tango, to the really get the feeling of romance. Let's do the tango.
At Bramall Lane, Birmingham won the toss from Sheffield United, wearing striped shirts, but before a crowd of 43,000, the home team was soon pressing very hard. Birmingham held out against the onslaught and then went over to the offensive. But it was Sheffield who alone succeeded in scoring in the first half through Jimmy Hager. After changing ends, both sides took it in turns to raid enemy territory. Birmingham suddenly went all out to get on terms. They were rewarded when a nice corner by Stewart was headed through by Ted Purdon, and that meant a replay. The cup tie at Hillsborough drew over 60,000 to the All-Sheffield encounter. Wednesday kicked off. You can spot them by the stripe on their shorts, and they were soon being hard-pressed by their opponents. Yes, United certainly had the best of it in the first half. After some 30 minutes, they succeeded in establishing a lead. Kicking off in the second period, United was still one up, but now Wednesday rallied and were obviously determined not to be knocked out of the cup so soon. They did in fact get the equaliser within a few minutes through Shaw. Well, that meant a replay, for the result was 1-1. True, Wednesday netted again, but the goal was disallowed.
Just let me hear some of that rock and roll music. Any old way you choose it. It's got a backbeat, you can't lose it. Any old time you use it. It's gotta be rock and roll music. If you wanna dance with me. If you wanna dance with me. I have no kick against modern jazz, unless they try to play it too darn fast and change the beauty of the melody until it sounds just like a symphony. That's why I go for that rock and roll music. Any old way you choose it. It's got a backbeat, you can't lose it. Any old time you use it. It's gotta be rock and roll music. If you wanna dance with me. If you wanna dance with me. I took my loved one over across the tracks so she could hear my man a wailing sax. I must admit they have a rockin' band.
Right back Coldwell, striped shirt, won the toss against Ron Ashman, Norwich City, and 57,000 at Bramall Lane expected vintage football as Norwich City kicked off. And what a cup reputation they brought to Sheffield. But United attacked straight away, and in the first half minute, Norwich were lucky to escape. But surely this wasn't going to be their Waterloo. Sheffield were all out to get an early goal. Their inside left, Billy Russell, drew Nethercott out of goal, and United were one up. That goal was a tonic for Sheffield, but a stimulus for Norwich. In United goal, Hodgkinson only partially cleared, but right half Macron shot over the bar. Norwich came on again. Inside right, Alcott nearly equalised, but it was still Sheffield United 1, City 0 at half-time. And then this amazing third division team that reached the quarter-final over the bodies of Manchester United, Cardiff and Spurs pulled out all the stops and showed that even victory at Wembley is possible for them. Norwich outside left Bobby Brennan ran to the danger zone, and City's hearts rose as the veteran winger shot. Another Hodgkinson clearance wasn't good enough. Norwich inside right Alcock put right half McCrone in possession, but the ball went wide. Sheffield United knew they needed another goal to make it sure. Inside right Hamilton looked a certain scorer, but Nethercott's great dive saved the Norwich skin. But what a price he paid, a dislocated right shoulder. Yet he insisted on staying in goal because Norwich was still one down and time was running out. They piled on the pressure. With only 15 minutes left, Bobby Brennan gave Errol Crossan an open goal. It was 1-1. Norwich City had lived to fight again.
This time it was Ron Ashman's turn to spin the coin. Coldwell called wrong, and 38,000 at Norwich saw Sheffield United kick off. Sheffield in striped shirts playing left to right. This was a replay in round 6 of the Cup, a battle royal for the right to be in the semi-final. And not one Norwich fan in the full house crowd expected anything but victory for the Canaries. City were playing with all the confidence of a team that made mincemeat of all opposition so far. Hodgkinson saved the Sheffield goal from an early attack. After 13 minutes, Errol Crossan sent the ball to Bobby Brennan. He deceived right back Coldwell and put Norwich 1 up. The Canaries didn't sing. They roared with a noise that would have done credit to Wembley itself. The Cup competition has transformed a humble third division side into a giant-killing team. Terry Bly drew Hodgkinson out and lobbed into the net. Norwich 2, Sheffield 0. It was a serious plight for Sheffield United, but the game was only half an hour old. As Kennan didn't look too safe in the Norwich goal, the visitors were by no means a beaten side yet. United inside right Hamilton shot, Kennan missed it and Pace slammed it home. So the score was Norwich 2, Sheffield 1 at half-time. Norwich kicked off in the second half full of confidence in their ability to increase their 2-1 lead. Sheffield United easily escaped danger from an early Norwich attack, and refreshed by the interval, the Blades played 100% better than in the first half. Kennan cleared this time. He was in place of the injured Nethercott, but Norwich was still dangerous despite Sheffield's revival. Bly was tripped, but nothing came of it. How the fans hoped for another goal. Luckily for Sheffield, Hodgkinson was safe as a rock. Norwich were now back in the picture again, taking the ball in raid after raid on Sheffield territory. Crossan's shot was half parried, but Terry Bly made no mistake. No wonder Norwich fans invaded the pitch. The Canaries led 3-1. Surely it was in the bag. Sheffield had other ideas, and the City goal had a narrow escape. There was still 20 minutes to go, and even though there were 2 goals behind, United were full of fight. Outside left, Simpson placed a corner beautifully for Summers to head Sheffield's second goal. Norwich stormed back. Crossan nearly scored again, and as the last whistle blew, it was Norwich 3, United 2. The amazing Canaries are in the semi-final.
City took the field at St Andrews for the second replay of the semi-final, Sheffield United in striped shirts. Neither side had scored in the 2 previous games. Both hoped that this evening they'd get back to their usual form. Leicester inside left Ken Keyworth shot wide with an early effort. Leake was going through when Sheffield goalkeeper Hodgkinson grabbed his foot. Penalty. Hodgkinson saved King's shot. What an escape for Sheffield. Heartened by that let-off, Sheffield United attacked, but Banks was safe in the Leicester goal. Free kick for United, and this time it was City's fans who gasped for breath. And still neither team could score. Again, Leicester escaped. At the other end, Hodgkinson was in difficulties, but the ball just would not go in. As the Leicester forwards couldn't score, their right-back Chalmers took a shot. Only Hodgkinson's brilliance kept the ball out. No score at half-time. Then the game sprang into dramatic life. The ball went to the Leicester right wing. Howard Riley had it. He tried a shot. Hodgkinson only partly cleared, and Walsh banged it home. A goal at last. After 257 goalless minutes, Leicester were 1 up. They scented victory and attacked again. With luck, this might have been a second goal. Now Leicester centre-forward Ken Leake shot goal number 2. Gallant Sheffield weren't beaten yet. Inside right, Kettleborough was brought down. Penalty against Leicester. Graham Shaw shot wide. At last, Leicester City had shown their real form. They didn't relax their grip on the game, and when the last whistle was blown, they had won the semi-final 2-0. Already, Leicester City fans are saying, Spurs, look out.
You're wearing your phone. Get it between the posts.
Men say only fools rush in.
Sheffield United in stripes faced Burnley in the 6th-round cup tie, and 57,000 fans from both sides of the Pennines packed United's ground for a North Country feast of football. What teams these two are. Top of the league Burnley hoping for the magic double. Sheffield United the pride of Yorkshire. An incident. A 10-yard stretch of railings gave way and 50 spectators were injured. Most of them, fortunately, only slightly. 3 were taken to hospital. The game continued. Burnley threatened, but luck favoured the Blades. Hodgkinson and another defender got the ball away. Burnley came again, and good anticipation by Hodgkinson saved the situation. United attacked on the right. Russell's header missed. There was no score at half-time. On the resumption, Burnley soon showed match-winning determination. From outside the penalty box, a strong shot, but Hodgkinson saved. And another escape for United. Play moved towards the Burnley end. Right back Coldwell passed to Pace, whose header was no trouble to Blackwell. It looked as though goals would never come. A header by Robson was half cleared. Coldwell kicked away. At the other end, Pace had 2 tries. No luck. Connolly takes a free kick for Burnley. Richardson heads away. Burnley left back Elder shoots. Pointer's head deflects it, and it's a goal. It was the only goal of the match, but enough to put Burnley into the semi-final.
On a bright, clear and very blustery afternoon at Highbury Stadium. We welcome for the very first time our northern viewers who are joining us for Match of the Day for the first time since BBC Two moved to the north of England. And it's one of their favourite teams, Sheffield United, in action today against Arsenal. Now,
tomorrow is a